Hello, you sent in several requests for me to do a video about the Glastonbury Festival, and I can understand why it winds you up so much. It's the ultimate festival of woke backslapping hypocrisy, where wealthy ponces pretend to be environmental heroes while they're burning oil and causing pollution, and people call for open borders while they're surrounded by a big fence. At least they had nice weather this year. Doomsday Goblin Greta Thunberg was there to try and change that. She gave a lecture from the stage while her jet was being refueled. Instead of thanking oil companies for the nice weather and providing the energy that transported her there, she berated the forces of greed and profit to an audience of people who'd paid £280 to stand in a field and £16 for a soggy vegan flatbread, so are probably already quite familiar with the forces of greed and profit. How come Greta's still 10 years old, by the way? Man, all the left-wing people desperate to transition every child don't need to bother with puberty blockers. Just put the kids on Greta's vegan diet. They'll never get there. Speaking of veganism, someone who was there told me that the favourite moment of hypocrisy was a ban the dairy trade sticker, with Glastonbury Festival actually being on a massive working dairy farm. And Greta's reading off a bit of paper. Come on, Greta, learn your lines that were admittedly written for you by adults. Imagine being a climate change scientist. You spend decades diligently researching and rising to the top of your profession. Then a 10-year-old girl with no experience comes along and steals your thunder. It's how I feel watching all these 22-year-olds on Live at the Apollo. I think Greta would have more fun at the festival if she just drank cider and got fingered like a normal teenager at the weekend. Climate change botherers dismissed photos of plastic and rubbish at the festival as fake news because they're from a few years ago, as if Glastonbury now isn't still a cesspit of disposable vapes and plastic bucket hats. Anyone who's been to Glastonbury knows there are huge car-sized diesel generators at every turn. Glastonbury tried to excuse this by saying that they now run on biofuel, but actually that's even worse. Biofuel is made from vegetable oils, so right when the world is facing starvation, Glastonbury is burning sunflower oil so that people can snort ketamine and listen to Megan Thee Stallion. Greta ended her speech with a call and response. Well, Greta, I've got a call and response for you. I say, mind your own business and let me live without interference from you. And you say, nothing, really, nothing. I don't need a lecture from a child. Greta left the stage in time for Sir Paul McCartney, who then did a song with Dave Grohl, who'd flown all the way from LA just for this, and Bruce Springsteen, who'd flown all the way from New York just for this. Greta's speech was like somebody lecturing about veganism at a hot dog eating competition. But Greta doesn't have the record for the most hypocritical Glastonbury speech. That would be Jeremy Corbyn, who gave a big speech at Glastonbury extolling the virtues of open borders and sharing the wealth, even though he was at Glastonbury, which has a massive wall around it to stop people getting in if they can't afford £280 for a ticket. Someone actually hung a sign saying "No borders" on the fence going round Glastonbury. You've written that on a border. You've got guards to stop people. If Priti Patel built a border like that on the coast of England to stop illegal migrants getting in, you'd decry her as a fascist. But you do it round your music festival to stop poor people getting in? I think maintaining the integrity of a country is slightly more important than stopping people from listening to Billie Eilish for free. Glastonbury has a John Peel tent named after the legendary BBC DJ, who, like most legendary BBC DJs, was a nonce. Although never charged, he admitted in an interview to having sex with 13-year-olds and even married a 15-year-old. Glastonbury's John Peel tent has teenage kicks written on the side of it. This is like having a Jimmy Savile tent with shag corpses written on the side. Ever noticed it's just the naff nonces like Gary Glitter and Jimmy Savile who get done, but the cool ones like Jimmy Page or Bill Wyman get away with it? Maybe the reason the woke establishment still revere John Peel instead of criticising him is that he's a cool nonce. Well, it looks like John Peel might not be getting away with it forever because there's a petition to get the tent renamed. But this petition isn't the only controversy dogging Glastonbury this year. Lenny Henry suggested that Glastonbury is racist, saying he's always surprised by the lack of black faces at Glastonbury. That's how I feel watching adverts in 2022, but with white faces instead of black. I don't think you can blame black people for having more sense than to spend 280 quid on a ticket to Glastonbury. Honestly, I'm surprised by the lack of Chinese faces at Lenny Henry shows. There used to be at least one. I mean, it was on his face, but there was one. Anyway, Glastonbury has taken steps to eliminate racism at the festival. They haven't had a speech from anti-Semite Jeremy Corbyn for a few years. My favourite bit of Glastonbury hypocrisy has to be from the Marxist rockers, the Manics street preachers, who demanded that their own portable toilet was brought to the festival in 1999, with a sign on the door saying, "These facilities are reserved exclusively for the Manic street preachers." Very communist. Lefty rocker Billy Bragg criticised the Manics for preaching socialism but practising private toiletism, and Manics bassist Nicky Wire retaliated on stage shouting, "I wouldn't want his dick pissing all over my toilet for all the money in the fucking world. Get back to the army, you dickhead, and stop stealing Woody Guthrie's songs." I think both sides make good points. Billy Bragg has since said the Manics bringing their own toilets was against the spirit of Glastonbury. Really? Spoilt rich people hypocritically doing one thing and saying another? I think it personifies it. I'm not the only comedian to criticise Glastonbury, by the way. Finn Taylor got lots of grief on Twitter for his joke on Have I Got News For You about bombing Glastonbury. Listen, relax, it's a joke. Just because something is a genuinely excellent idea doesn't mean it can't also be a joke. I miss the days when festivals were about having fun rather than feeling guilty, and the only lecture you'd get was from a hallucinating druid who'd tell you about ley lines, then stand up and trip over a tent line. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe and send it to a friend, or use a diesel generator to project it onto a big screen in a field, and support me making these videos by becoming a Patreon from as little as £3 a month. That's about 100th the cost of a Glastonbury ticket. You get early access to these videos, and you get a Patreon-only podcast with a criminal barrister, and a Discord chat with me in it where we discuss ideas for future videos. Anyway, thanks for listening. I've been Leo Kears. Bye.